rectangles, points, credit cards, all these things are just math in some way. There has to be more to life than that. I've got to try and strike that work-life balance somehow. Why don't we talk about fruit? I don't know, they're nutritious, they're delicious, they can be delicious. They're part of a balanced diet, part of a balanced breakfast. I think we should talk about those. So I have a class here called fruit, and it contains 2 members. And yes, I see this altogether unsettling new keyword in green, and we will be talking about what this means in a couple of videos. For now, we're just going to see it a couple of times. And I've got these 2 members, a function called getName, and this is just a fruit, so it just returns, hi, I'm a generic fruit of some kind, and whether or not, and there's a second member function that returns whether or not the fruit is delicious. And because we don't know anything about the fruit, at the moment, I guess the answer is no, it isn't. I have a function here called printFruit, which takes an object of type fruit. There it is. It's a reference, and then it prints out the name and whether or not the fruit is delicious. All right, there it is. And then down here in main, I have this. I create 4 objects, one of type fruit, and then one of type raspberry, and then pumpkin, and then pineapple, and then I want to print them all out. So here's the class I already have. It's of type fruit. And I suppose, once I'm done with all of this, I would like to have a class called raspberry. I would like to have a class called pumpkin. And I would like to have a class called pineapple. But the key exercise that we need to do here is, it says we're not allowed to define a second printFruit function. I want to have there just be one printFruit function, and I want it to be this one. Which means, when you call printFruit and you pass in a raspberry, this printFruit function needs to be able to take that object and work. So the compiler has to allow this. So what I'm really saying is, I would like it to be the case that class raspberry is a fruit, and pumpkin is a fruit, and even pineapple, unfortunately, is a fruit. So of course I want to define that parent and child class relationship, superclass, subclass, base class, and derived class. I want to use this as an opportunity to talk about one of the reasons we make these specializations, because the exact behavior of what's going on in the child class might differ from or extend the behavior of the parent class. And for example, there might be some data that's contained in the child class that the parent class would have no knowledge of. So a generic fruit doesn't have very much inherent information, whereas a raspberry or a pineapple or a pumpkin might contain other information, which is part of why we create these specializations. So all I care about for this video is remedying, I guess, the awful series of compile errors I get if I try doing this. And so the problem is, first, there aren't any classes pumpkin, pineapple, and raspberry. That's a pretty big problem. But also, even once there are, they have to be defined explicitly so that raspberries are fruit to be able to call this function. So we'll try that. So we'll start with class raspberry is public fruit. And then we'll write the class definition for that. And what I want is for the raspberry to behave like a fruit object, but in a way that reflects the specialization. If I ask a raspberry for its name, I want it to say, I'm a raspberry, not I'm a generic fruit. And so before I do that, I'm going to define these empty classes just to see if we can make the code compile at all. There we go, and then we'll define class pineapple. Now we have to do one more thing, which is it's actually sufficient to leave many of these empty, but we'll see that the compiler still has a bit of a problem with us because when we try and construct, notice there's only one error left, and it's when I try to construct the raspberry object, it takes an integer parameter. It says, have the constructor for the raspberry take an int parameter, and I have to actually write a constructor that does that, so I'll write that now. So there's raspberry, and it takes int s, which is the number of seeds in the raspberry. And those of you that are raspberry aficionados, which I hope is all of you, do understand that although I wouldn't call it a downside, raspberries are known for having seeds. Okay, so I've written the constructor. Maybe I will now actually say I'm calling the raspberry constructor, just for now as a placeholder, and I'll print out the value of s. All right, so we'll try compiling this just to prove that by making these specializations, I am actually now able to compile the code. If I run it, though, I have this problem, which is if I pass in f, my generic fruit, to print fruit, it prints out this is a generic fruit. It's not delicious. When I pass in r, a raspberry, something that is empirically delicious, into the function, it still says, hi, I'm a generic fruit and I'm not delicious. And maybe it's clear that maybe there's no other choice because nothing we've done in the Raspberry class explains what else should be done, but that certainly is something I need to improve. So what I can do with this, and it turns out that the word virtual is key here, is I have the option when I define a specialization, when I define the class Raspberry, which is a fruit, I have the option of superseding the behavior of a basic fruit object. I can say, when you ask for the name of a raspberry, something different happens than when you ask for the name of the parent object. And to do that, I think I'll demonstrate this by just copying and pasting. I can define my own specialized versions of the member functions. We call this overriding the behavior. So I'm overriding the getName function in the fruit class. If you use a raspberry object and you call getName, then you get the version of getName defined by raspberry, which would be this. I'm going to delete this for now. I'll come back and add this in a minute. And then, is a raspberry delicious? Well, hell yeah. So we return true there. I suppose while we're at it, we can define the same overrides for our pumpkin and pineapple class. So there they are. We'll start with pineapple because we need to write that wrong. There it is. And it's a pineapple. And then the pumpkin says it's a pumpkin. I think a pumpkin is delicious. I think you have to do something with it to make it delicious, but I think that still counts, right? It's the inner beauty. May have to make it into a pie first, but if it weren't for the pumpkin, it wouldn't be pumpkin pie, so I think it counts as being delicious. And then we'll try running the code again. It still compiles, and if I run it now, notice I am passing in all 4 fruit to the same function. When I arrive at the function, it thinks I have provided something of type fruit, because I have. A pumpkin is a fruit. A pineapple is a fruit. And then when it calls getName, it gets the version of the function that we call is the version in the actual type of the object. This function has no knowledge of pumpkins or pineapples or raspberries or anything else. It just knows about fruit. And yet, when I call getName, the version of the function that I get is the version defined in the type I really have. So secretly, when I pass in a raspberry, this variable f is of type raspberry. It's masquerading as a fruit object. When I call getName, I get the version of the function corresponding to the actual type of what I'm working with. So I get the getName function in raspberry. I'm now done with the constructor for now, so we'll just get rid of that. I get the isDelicious function in raspberry. I suppose now I might also want to further embellish this extension that I'm creating here. I guess I could store the number of seeds as a member of the raspberry type. And so I'll just set, I'll initialize num seeds here. There we go. So the raspberry object now contains internally the number of seeds. A future video will come back to, hey, how do we go get that value? So, I mean, what if when I print out a fruit, I want to know, is this fruit secretly a raspberry? And if so, how many seeds does it have? We'll talk about that later. So I'm defining these 3 classes, raspberry, pumpkin, and pineapple, that are each subclasses, specializations, extensions of the fruit class. And they override some of the behavior. So even if you write parts of your code that think they're just working with a generic fruit, they can benefit from that modified behavior. And we can see raspberry says it's delicious, pineapple obviously says it isn't, and pumpkin says that it's delicious. So I was able to override behavior. Now, speaking of the word override, let's add back that keyword I tried to add earlier. I actually added the keyword subconsciously, sort of muscle memory. As you've noticed, I didn't need to write the word override for the code to work. When you have, it turns out the word virtual is the operative word. When you have declared a function as being virtual in the parent class, then it can be overridden by child classes. And I'm going to unpack that in a different video. So when a function is virtual, then you can override it in a child class. It's helpful as a readability measure to write the word override at the end of the function signature. That's one way of signaling to anybody reading it that this is not the original version of the function. This is superseding a version of the function in a parent class. And we're going to talk about the real meaning or use of the word override in a future video as well. So the word virtual and the word override are a bit weird. They're coming out of nowhere here. Unlike a lot of other languages like Java, where everything is automatically virtual, to simplify a little bit, you don't need to say that it's virtual, and therefore you can override things by default. There's a way of preventing overrides, but by default things can be overridden. In C++, unless you've marked the function as being virtual, you can't override, or overriding doesn't behave the way you expect it to. But the word override is really at this point mostly for maintainability. Somebody looking at your code that sees the word override knows this is superseding some other behavior. But even if you didn't have this here, it would still do that. Okay, so we'll run that just to verify. Another thing, of course, is if you add the word override to a function that is not actually overriding a function in the parent class, you get a compile error, which I think is great. As we saw earlier in the course, I love compile errors. I would love it if the compiler could point out my errors for me. Okay, so what we've seen here is the basic ability to supersede functionality in the parent class in a transparent way. Raspberry overrides behavior in the fruit class, but when I work with objects of apparently type fruit, I still get the benefit of that modified behavior. And we'll see in the next few videos a few implications of that. So first off, what does virtual actually mean? And if I'm in this print fruit function, is there a way to ask the question, hey, is this fruit secretly a raspberry in disguise?